Your
Okay. My father's name is James Hodges. Called him Jim. That was his nickname. My mother was Mattie Chavis, and then a Hodges. They had they had 17 children. Yes. They and out of those 17 children, what was it? 9 girls, 8 boys. Is that 17, 18? Nine, no, 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 I'm sorry. They had uh, 17. James, Charles, Carl, Tommy, Helen, Juanita, Maribel, Mabel, Barbara, Claretta, Sylvia, Bernice, Clarence, Bernard, J.D. I'm right. Yeah, they had, good God, they had 17 children. Yes, my parents, I think, lived at Grandpa Hodges' house when they were first married. They had 9 children at that house, and then they moved down here, and they had the rest of the kids down here on this farm. Oh no, they moved further down in the country. I mean, further back in the woods. My grandfather owned a lot of property, and that was one of his tenant farmer houses. When those people moved out of that house, my mother was trying to get out of Grandpa Hodges' house. It was so many people living there, so they moved. Grandpa gave them that house down there, and they moved down there. Then years later is my father built this house about 1949, 1950. County. We are now in Cumberland County. Yeah. You are on the land that your great grandfather bought many years ago, that was willed to my father, then was willed to me.
Who's your father?
So you're on Hodges land. You're on Hodges Plantation. That's where you are.
And tell me how, you can sit back, rest. Tell me how you and your family grew up here.
How we moved here?
Yeah, yeah. How you moved here.
My mother had had a lot of children. And we needed a bigger house. And we were living like a little further down. And their children were growing up. And they were not outgrowing this physically, but they were outgrowing it mentally. They had gone out in the world and they had seen some more stuff in the world. And down there we had no electricity, we had no water, we had no telephone.
We had water now, but we didn't have that. We had it out of a pump.
Well, Mabel, this is my sister Mabel, and she said we did have water. We had a pump. Outdoor bathrooms and stuff, and my mother wanted to grow with her children. And so she pestered my father to build a house. And it took about, 5 years?
To do what?
It took a little while to get this house built. The girls were going off to college. The boys had gone off to the military. They had gone to all places of the world. They'd gone to India, Germany, Japan, and my mother wanted to grow. My father loved her dearly, and this is true. And he did everything. She was the boss. She was the boss.
Women are always the boss.
Huh?
They always
She said
are.
women are
She be always the boss. And
Tell me a little bit about being a Hodges in this area, in Hope Mills, in this area. Your grandfather was.
Sam Hodges. And we honestly thought that we the cream de la cream. We honestly believed that we were Hodges. When you went someplace, that would ask you, are you a Hodges? And you thought that was, you just somehow thought that you were just a little bit above, a little better, okay? I heard that Grandpa was very, very aggressive. I also heard that he was not educated, had never been to school a day in his life. But there are things that governed that helped with that caused him to do a lot of other things. Like, for instance, he built the first black school for this area. He built the first black church for this area because he saw the need that blacks weren't educated. Because he wasn't educated and the world was moving, the world was changing, he saw the need for blacks to become educated. Yes.
tell us a little bit about the earliest church, how it was built, and who attended.
That was a family church. Okay, that's the church that Grandpa Hodges built. It was a block church. If you can visualize a T, was no order to that church. It was just a block church. Sunday school, where the preacher would stand. Sunday school, main office. Cold. No, I mean, just a church, just a place for you to go and I guess learn. Here's something else that I've tried to find out about that too. It's a Presbyterian church. That was the first black church that was out here. I don't know how he got to be a Presbyterian. I don't know where we got the books from. I think he went to the white people and asked them. He was building a church. Could he have those songs, those books, hymn books? Mm-hmm. And we used those. I don't remember that we even had anything but the Bible and the hymns.
Did you attend either of the churches?
Yes.
Tell me about those memories, just a little bit.
Okay, my memory with that church was, my brother and I were talking about this just yesterday, cold in the winter. Cold in the winter. No heat, no nothing. I also remember if it rained, it needed a roof. We didn't have any money. I mean, I don't know what they were doing about the roof or how, but if it rained in there, you didn't go in. The people that went to that church were the tenant farmers. He had a lot of tenant farmers, and they came, the Hodgeses. It was like a Hodges church with the tenant farmers. That's kind of how I remember that, yes.
Nice. Where did you begin to go to school?
Grandpa Hodges built a school, 2 rooms, board, same thing again, cold, freezing. When we went to school in the mornings on a winter, we went out and got wood, and brought it in. The teacher started a fire. Grandpa went over to Fayetteville. There was a lady there, Miss Christine. Yeah, what was that last name? But at any rate, he asked her to come out and help teach. She did, and she came out and lived with him. He gave her housing and everything, and she came out and lived and taught at that school.
So, not only were he and his wife and his children living in that farmland, but also the teacher for the school?
Yes. Oh, there were a lot of people in that house. Everybody in this community that became anything almost, I can't say anything, that's terrible, came out of that house. I mean, the teachers, his sons got wives out of that house. They came to teach. I don't know how he was finding these people if they found him. But there weren't that many black churches and schools, so I guess they told the teacher there's a black school over there, you need to go there, yes. Okay, so I didn't know my uncles. I didn't know, by the time I was born, the world had changed a little bit. They had grown up, they had gotten married. So I didn't know Uncle Bo. His name was Alexander Hodges. He was married and gone up north, where blacks could get jobs. Uncle Ras was down in Southern Pines. He went down to Southern Pines. There was a school down there. Uncle Ras, who else is there? Willie Christopher Hodges. He stayed across the branch by the school on one of Grandpa Hodges' houses. Who else was there? Sam. What I know about Sam was he went to college. He's the only son I know went to college. My father went to college, some black school, and Sam became a county agent for the farm, yeah.
What about your Aunt Alice?
Aunt Alice? Oh, Aunt Alice was the world. When Aunt Alice came around, she was the cream de la cream. She had married her professor, and they were educated. And so when my grandfather was very much aware of education, so when they came, you combed your hair, you did your face, and she was good. She was nice. She was a nice person. She was sharp, and she had nice kids also. In fact, Lynn is her granddaughter.
Miss Honey?
Honey was good. Honey was sweet. That's why they called her Honey. She was named after my grandfather's mother. Aunt Eliza was called Honey. She stayed there I don't know where she stayed before I came along, but she was there with my grandfather all the time, all my life. She took care of that house and took care of the family. Yeah.
I don't mill.
Aunt Mill. Aunt Mill was pretty. Aunt Mill was kind. She was earthy. She wasn't. She didn't leave. She didn't. She didn't leave there. She stayed there forever in my life. Mill was Mill. I mean, no, I can't say anything negative or positive about her. She was who she was.
Miss Bertha.
Oh, Aunt Bertha was Aunt Bertha. Aunt Bertha was aggressive. Aunt Bertha was. Aunt Bertha, I think she had Grandpa Hodges' personality. She also wanted to be the top. They all had that kind of personality where they wanted to succeed and they wanted to be the best. And so you're kind of afraid of Aunt Bertha.
Miss Ethel.
Aunt Ethel was tough. Aunt Ethel was just tough. Let's just say Aunt Ethel had that same personality, but tough. Made her opinions, and she was her opinionated. Yes.
Miss Marion.
Kind. She's a kind person. She's a baby girl. She smoked cigarettes. Aunt Bertha smoked those cigarettes all the time too. Marion was good. Diane and Dara. She had 2 kids, Diane and Dara. My oldest brother and my youngest uncle were drowned in that lake in Hope Mills. They always thought it had to do with race because Grandpa Hodges, that family was the only black family, and it wasn't even Hope Mills when they lived there. And those boys drowned. So Sam was born right before Robert, and then Robert and James, my oldest brother, my youngest uncle.
What would you personally like to say directly to the future generations? What would you want them to know about your family and the Hodges family?
I would say this about this family. I would say that this family, because they were so competitive with each other, that somehow we lost connection with each other by competing with each other. But try to maintain that family value, because that's so important. That's so important. I mean, you can become a doctor, you could become a lawyer, but you're always going to need that family. You always. And that's where your comfort level, that's where your morals, your values, and everything is going to come from.
That's a good point. What is one recurring value that has transcended straight down from Sam and Fannie Hodges?
I think competition. I think whatever Grandpa Hodges had, I don't know if that's genetic or if it was instilled in generation and the next generation, but if you go through this family, you will see that they all are sort of kind of successful. They all have done very well. They all have competed with each other, but they're still kind of going. They're still going. This pamphlet is just saying to me, this is my brother, and this is his obituary. And in this obituary, he's kind of saying the same thing that I'm saying, that he went to the school, Grandpa Hodges' school, that's where he went to school. And they didn't have schools here for blacks when he grew up. And so he had to go to Southern Pines to stay with Uncle Ras because they had a black school up there. And blacks were kind of feeling their way through life. Slavery had ended. And they had to you had to kind of see what the white people were doing and try to get a feel of, what can I do that? And I think that's what my grandfather did. I think because he couldn't read and write, he'd never been to school, he kept his 8 sisters and brothers with him. He moved from Manchester. He moved to Hope Mills. But he was a boy. I'm getting the idea that he was a boy doing this. He's a young man going out getting food and helping his family, helping his mother. I guess that's kind of what's in this pamphlet. And he's also telling you, my brother is telling you about the fact that Grandpa Hodges wanted them to go to college. He was always into education, and he went to A&T in Greensboro, North Carolina. My father gave him $50 and said that's all the money he had. He had two boys, Charles and Carl. He had $50, and he told them, this is all I got. If the professor at the school doesn't take it, y'all come back home because we got a lot of work on the farm to do. What happened is, right in there, World War II started. And so they had to drop out of school, go to the military, and they were able to send money home to my mother to help her with all her young... I was born the day this person went to the military. He's 21 years older than I am. He died at 99. He was the first black... He came back home. He went to A&T, finished with the GI Bill, something like, got a job working at the farm there at A&T. Married his wife, had 2 kids, and he became the first black major county agent in the United States. Right. But he came from that little school across the branch with 2 rooms that Grandpa Hodges built. And somehow they went from going to down in Southern Pines, got I guess it was a high school education. I can't imagine what they were learning in 1920. And then back home again to A&T and back on, got a master's and became one of the top, the first black. That's what's in this little pen. That's what I was reading about. Yeah. Amazing. With the North Carolina, yeah. They I mean, that's one thing about the Hodges, is they all wanted to be first. They all wanted to be better than the one before. Yeah.
So your grandfather was very ambitious, huh?
It had to have come with him, because we look at the fact about formal education. But here's a man that was not educated at all. But you can also think about this. The times were different. What was his competition? Who was he competing with? Blacks on one side and whites on another side. But he figured out a way to do it. And he did it. And he encouraged his children. They married well. Their children did well. Their children did well. And here we are. And the story about Claretta is this. She said that once she loved my father. And every time my mother had a baby, they'd slept in separate beds, because Mother would sleep with the newborn baby, Daddy would sleep with the knee baby. And she slept to warm his back. This is what she tells us. And she asked him one time, he had a headache, and she was rubbing his head. And she said, Daddy, what do you think would be the best thing that a person could be? And he said, Claretta, the way my head is hurting now, I think a doctor. And she said she kept it in the back of her head, and she became an anesthesiologist. That's me. God, Jesus Christ. I had 5 children by this time. Right now. Okay. This is my mother. This is my mother, my father, and this is how many kids on here? It's -2, so it was 15 living. James and Vivatina dead. Bernard was killed in Vietnam. So this is 14 of their children with my mother and father. I'm going to say something else too, because my sister Mabel talks about this. And I don't know how important this is, but you see this even now. That family, Grandpa Hodges' family, he could do everything. He could barbecue. I mean, you name it, he could do it. But that little thing about light skin and dark skin, I think that carried that family, because Grandpa was half white coming out of slavery. His wife, Grandma Fanny, was the same thing, and all those kids looked like they were white. So the white world kind of accepted them a little more. I don't know if his personality, if he learned how to deal, but he did. And all his kids had the same thing. They know what was needed in society, and they used it, and they did it. Grandpa Hodges used to call us coons. I'm just kind of going through stuff that's in my head. He used to say, "Come here, coon. we thought it was because we had big eyes, but now we know that's what the white folk call the black people.
Bless.
He had a dog named Laddie, and he would when people would come to visit, he would say to that dog, which would you rather be, a dead dog or a nigger? And that dog would lay down. Yeah.
I don't think the dog understood.
Huh?
I don't think the dog understood.
No, I think, but Grandpa did. He was sort of appeasing, or or what you call it, to the white people. White people loved him. He did well. He did good with. It had to, because how else could they have come out of that? And he took care of his brothers, his sisters, his children's children, cousins. Everybody lived in that house. That house made people. Whatever went on in that house, and when they went out in the world, they did well. Yes. Sounds like I'm bragging, right?
You're allowed to. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, okay.
You gotta brag to your own family.
That's when we would go places, people would say, "Are you a Hodges?" And that gave you a sense of pride. I'm a Hodges. Whether you were doing anything or not, but you knew not to do anything wrong, because they would come back and tell it. People said, "I saw your granddaughter. I saw your daughter, such and such a place." So that kind of kept you in line.